Windows 11 was released to the public about 4 years ago, and one of the big changes coming from previous versions of Windows was the redesigned start menu. Aside from a few minor settings and features, the design really hasn't changed that much in the last 4 years, that is until now. At the time of this video's production, Microsoft is currently in the process of rolling out a redesigned start menu for Windows 11 versions 24H2 and 25H2 via a Windows update. In this video, we'll be reviewing it, comparing it to the old start menu, and sharing my own thoughts. Let's first start off by looking at the old start menu that many of us have already been used to. Alright, so opening up the start menu here. Now, I'm going to go from top to bottom just to make things a little bit easy to follow. Starting off, we have the search bar up here. This can search for applications, settings, files, and even do web searches if you'd like. Just like so. Up here, you can filter the search results a little bit further, but here you can see that we have the best match over here, the web results, the settings, and of course, a few other categories right here. And really, depending on what you select over here, further information will be populated over here. In this case, we have control panel, so it just showed us, do you want to open it? Do you want to open the file location? Do you want to pin it to your start and taskbar? Moving down along here, you have your pinned apps section. This is basically a section where you can pin applications that you want to open when you open the start menu. Over here, you have your all apps menu here, and this is pretty important to know because this is one of the ways you can pin applications to your start menu. This list doesn't always have everything, but it does have the majority of applications installed on your computer. If you want to pin something, you just right click it and click pin to start. Then you'll go back and you'll see it right over here. One thing to note here is you can actually make folders by putting applications on top of each other, and then you can edit the name to whatever you would like, just like so. And then you can remove them from the folders just like this. Down here, you have your recommended section, which shows recently used files, recently used applications, recommended settings, I believe, suggestions as well. You can customize this section to your liking in the start menu settings, which we'll get to in just a little bit. Down here, you have your user account information. I have a local account, so this is just going to show local account information, but you have the sign out button up here. And then on the right side, you have your power options like lock, sleep, shutdown, and restart. I'm going to go ahead and go to the start menu settings to show you a few other things you can do. Now, in this section, you can customize the layout of the start menu. Now, it's not too customizable. What this basically does is adjust the amount of rows that you have in the pinned section as compared to the recommended section. So by default, there's 3 rows of pinned applications and 3 rows of recommended files and whatnot that show up in the recommended section. So if I go to the more pins option, if I go into the start menu now, you can see that there's 4 rows of pinned applications you can put. If I go to the all apps menu and pin something like, oh, let's do quick assist. So if I add quick assist, you can see now it's adding a 4th row of icons in the start menu. Now, same thing goes with the more recommended section, is basically adds 4 rows of recommended items you can put in this section and minimizes the pinned apps menu to 2 rows. And this is a good time to demonstrate that if you do have more than 2 rows of icons in the pinned apps section, you can scroll through your applications just like so. But I'm going to go ahead and put it back to default. Now, you can't completely get rid of the pinned apps section, nor can you completely get rid of the recommended section. But for the recommended section, you can at least customize what is in the recommended section. So if I turn all of this off, I believe, yes, this will actually just turn everything off, but the section is still there. So that is a little bit of a downside right there. I'm going to go ahead and just turn everything back onto its defaults right here. Now, one more setting I want to demonstrate here, I feel like a lot of people don't know about this, is the folders section. Now, this is actually an area where you can pin shortcuts to different areas of your PC in the bottom area of the start menu over here. So let's say I turn on settings here. You'll see that there's now a shortcut to settings permanently located in the bottom area of the start menu right over here. You can even do the same with File Explorer or Documents, and it'll always be there no matter what you do. So if I click File Explorer here, as you can see, it'll take me to the File Explorer. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. And I feel like that's about it for the Windows 11 start menu. I will note that if you have Phone Link enabled, which is basically this phone integration app that you can use with Windows 11, I personally use it. It's pretty good. Phone Link right over here. If you turn this on and you connect your phone and everything like that, you can add a section on the right side of your start menu for the phone. You can easily turn it off. It's nothing permanent, but it is an option if you would like. So yeah, that's about it for the old Windows 11 start menu. Let's move on to the new one. This is the new Windows 11 start menu. I'm just going to go through the main differences. I'm not going to go through all the details I just did with the old one. So up here, you still have the search bar over here. Over here, you have the pinned app section just like before. And over here, you have the recommended section just like before as well. So the main difference with this one is obviously it's bigger. And then down here, you have the all apps section. So now instead of it being a separate menu by a button over here, you have a section all the way at the bottom. You have 3 different options now. You have the category view, which mimics iOS a little bit more. All your applications are split into different categories. I think this is based on AI. It tries to group those applications based on category over here. And you can't rename these files, but there is, scrolling. So yeah, that's the category view. Next up is the grid view. And this is basically the list view, except everything is in a grid fashion. Like so, it just looks a little bit different. And the last option is the list view, which is basically what you had before. Thing is in a list over here. OneDrive, I do not want to back up my files. Just to note, if you add more than the amount of applications that are shown here, let's say I go to the productivity section, I start pinning all the Microsoft Office applications over here. And as you can see, in the pinned app section, you are limited to 2 rows. And if you click this show all menu, you will now see all your applications. So you can toggle between this option. This recommended section here, we'll go into the settings, but you can actually completely remove this section if you would like. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and add more files in the recommended sections to see how this scales properly. So yeah, in the recommended section, you have 2 rows of items over here. And if you want to show all of your recommended items, you can click the show all button. It'll show you basically all your recommended items just like so. Now, one more thing to note is that this start menu can actually scale based on your resolution, your scale factor. This entire menu will scale based on that information. So if I go to display setting, I'm going to go ahead and choose 150% scaling. And if we open the start menu here, you'll see this actually looks quite similar to the old start menu, but as you can see, you can still only show 2 rows of icons over here, and you can show all of them by clicking this show all button over here. But yeah, my point here being is that based on the resolution and zoom factor of your monitor, this can actually scale up and down and move the icons accordingly. All right, let's move on to the start settings. We'll go ahead and right click the start settings here and go to start settings. So as you can see, the layout option is completely gone in this new start menu. So we don't have access to that anymore. However, we can completely remove the recommended section if we want to. So if I turn off all these toggles over here, these are the same settings like we had before in the recommended section. If we turn them all off, you can see that the recommended section is completely gone. So now you'll only be left with your pinned apps up here and your all section at the bottom. One more thing I forgot to mention in the new start menu is that if you unpin all the applications in the pinned section, you can actually completely get rid of the section altogether. So if I unpin the calculator here, as you can see, the pinned app section is completely gone. So if you want to, you can go to the start settings and turn off recommendations as well. And then you can have a start menu that just has your apps list in here. So that's pretty cool. And you can even have categories and grid, and it'll look pretty solid here. So for those who want just a list of apps when you open your start menu, this is pretty good positive. So yeah, that's most of the differences between the old and the new start menu in Windows 11. Now, what are my personal, and to emphasize, personal thoughts on the new Windows 11 start menu? It's important to note that since the beginning of Windows 11's release, I actually really liked the operating system as a whole. This is a very unpopular opinion among enthusiasts out there, I can tell, but I am in the minority that Windows 11 is a pretty good upgrade as compared to Windows 10, especially for those who aren't so tech savvy in the first place, having a focus on simplicity. With that being said though, I am personally not too fond of this new start menu. You know what I really liked about the old start menu in Windows 11? How much it resembled Windows 7's, which is also a personal go-to when it comes to my favorite versions of Windows. I can imagine some people being like, what is this guy talking about? But hear me out. In Windows 7, you had your list of pinned apps on the left side, an all apps button on the bottom that showed a list of your apps in a separate menu, and on the right side, you had an assortment of shortcuts to different parts of the system as well. On the top of that section, you had your account settings, and at the bottom, you had the power settings. With the old start menu in Windows 11, pretty similar situation. Pinned apps, all apps button, power settings, account settings, and optionally shortcuts to different parts of the system. It emphasized simplicity in my eyes. Things were a bit more sectional, not too overwhelming or anything like that. The problem now is when I go to Windows 11's new start menu and you're utilizing all these different sections, it feels a lot more complex and I guess you could say straining on the eyes. I mean, just look at this. You open it and you feel like there's so much going on right now. Look at the amount of icons and items jumbled up all into one menu. And if you have a lot, the scroll bar doesn't make things much better either. And because of the scroll bar, it seems like this is the reason why this toggle here had to be implemented for the pinned apps section, because I guess it would have been weird to have two scroll bars here at the same time. Not only that, but the recommended section toggle goes to a completely different menu, while the pinned sections toggle is like a hamburger menu. It's not very consistent. And I get that some people might like the scalability with the new start menu, and I guess that really comes down to taste, because I personally don't like it that much. For example, I don't really like the fact that when I plug in my laptop to a set of monitors that have a completely different resolution and scaling settings, that the layout of the start menu has to change as well. One more thing to note here is I think the way this is being rolled out is not so good either. This start menu is coming via a Windows update. Yes, a Windows update. It's not even like a major feature update either, like going from 24H2 to 25H2. No, it's just a standard non-security update. What doesn't help is that even for those who have the update, it won't show up immediately for some people, if I understand this correctly. It will be considered a gradual rollout, quote unquote, where some people will see it, some people won't, and eventually everyone will see it. The start menu is such an essential part of Windows, and changing it is a huge thing. Like, people should be prepared and aware that a new change like this is going to happen. It should be, I guess you could say, hyped up, like with a new version of Windows, like Windows 12. And if not, a feature update at the least. Just for context, even going from Windows Vista to Windows 7 didn't have this much of a change with the start menu. And Windows 11 is getting a new start menu with a non-security update? I know Windows 10 had a few start menu revamps throughout its life cycle, but at least those came with feature updates, not just a normal Windows update. Now, what are some positives to the new start menu? Well, I really like how you can completely remove the pinned apps section and the recommended section. This lets you have one continuous menu with all of your applications, so that's pretty cool, and I think it makes it a bit more simplified for those who don't like to use those sections in the first place. Also, while I think it was unnecessary, I guess the different layouts for the all apps section can be considered a positive as well for extra customizability. But that's really where all the benefits end for me. I would say that the option to have a larger start menu is a positive, but I can't fix the size to my liking like I can with Windows 10. It's all dependent on your resolution and scaling settings. And that brings me to how this can be improved in the future. In the old start menu, I didn't really ask for too much customization because it was already so good. But now I feel like more customization is needed here. As I said before, if there was a way to set a fixed size for the start menu, similar to how Windows 10 allows you to do it, then that would be really helpful. Look at this, wouldn't this be so nice to have on the new Windows 11 start menu? Also, an option to have the all apps section a button again would be greatly appreciated, because not everyone needs to see that section open all the time. Some people prefer searching for apps, and some just want to see what's pinned and prefer having that section out of the way. These two things alone would really help the new start menu in my eyes, just to give people more flexibility. To sum it up, I would say that unless you are only using the all apps section and turning off the pinned apps section and the recommended section, this start menu is mostly a downgrade. Now, do I think this new start menu kills Windows 11 as a whole? No, but I feel like it is a solid stab in the operating system. With Windows 11 bringing more consistency and simplicity to the table when it was introduced, I feel like this start menu is going backwards with that approach. While I don't think this is a reason to completely avoid Windows 11, mentioning the new start menu is probably not going to be a reason I'll highlight to people if I want to convince them to upgrade. And I think that about does it. Thank you all for watching. If you want to support the channel, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more tech-related content, and I will see you all later.